Hello and welcome to what will be the last recap of the Karen Reed trial, round one. Because, as you probably know, yesterday we had this decision.
Judge Canoni, despite our rigorous efforts, we continue to find ourselves at an impasse. Our perspectives on the evidence are starkly divided. Some members of the jury firmly believe that the evidence surpasses the burden of proof, establishing the elements of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Conversely, others find the evidence fails to meet this standard and does not sufficiently establish the necessary elements of the charges. The deep division is not due to a lack of effort or diligence, but rather a sincere adherence to our individual principles and moral convictions. To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs. I'm not going to do that to you folks. Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
So, we now have a mistrial. And for those of you who are new to trial watching, what does a mistrial mean? Does it go away? Is it done now? Is Karen free to go? No. Now it's up to the DA's office to think about it and then come back and say, we want to give it another go, or we don't believe we can ever get a conviction, so we are letting it slide. And with what we watched for more than a month of trial, almost 2 months, if you factor in all those stupid half days and days off and holidays and whatever we have been through, any reasonable DA would say, this is done, we had nothing. But we had this press release yesterday from Michael Morris' office. A mistrial has been declared in the matter of Commonwealth v. Karen Reed. First, we thank the O'Keefe family for their commitment and dedication to this long process. They maintained sight of the true core of this case to find justice for John O'Keefe. The Commonwealth intends, that word I will try to plead that might mean something. The Commonwealth intends to retry this case. It doesn't say we will retry this case. It intends to do it. I talked about it yesterday on my stream. In Denmark, we said, I don't know what if you call it a cat flap or a dog flap. You know, that little hole you have in a door so your cat can walk in and out of the house. In Denmark, when you want to have an easy way out, you build in one of those cat flaps, is what I'm going to call it now. So you can sneak out the back door if it doesn't work out. And I believe with the wording intends to retry it, they leave them enough room. So before we get back here in 3 weeks, when the next hearing is, they can say, we have reevaluated all of the evidence. We have reevaluated all of the witnesses. And even though we still believe Karen Reed is guilty, we are not sure that we can get a conviction in Massachusetts because of all of the press that's been there. So we will drop the case. That's my belief. And I don't work for the DA's office. I know nothing, but I read that kind of like we want to get a way out because they have a lot of problems after this trial because we all know who the big problem is. And yesterday evening, following the mistrial in the Commonwealth v. Karen Reed, the Massachusetts State Police would like to offer our condolences against to the family of Boston PD officer John O'Keefe. We cannot imagine the way in which this result has heightened the O'Keefe family's immeasurable grief, heartache, and sense of loss. John lived a life of honorable service, both to the city of Boston and the children entrusted to his care after an unexpected death of his sister and brother-in-law. We will remember him. Upon learning today's result, the department took immediate action to relieve Trooper Michael Proctor of duty and formally transfer him out of the Norfolk County DA's office. That's a big problem. And they know they have a big problem because Michael Proctor is the lead investigator in this case. Michael Proctor is also the guy who demeaned a woman with Crohn's disease, who demeaned a woman by saying he was looking for nudes in her phone, who told his buddies about how she was all the worst things in the world and how he wished she would unalive herself. That man will again be put on the stand if Massachusetts choose to retry this case. Michael Proctor has now been relieved of duty because he is such a bad police officer that everything he have touched is now tainted. Not only this case, but everything. Do you think they wish to see him on the stand again, reading the C word, reading, I hope she unalives herself, reading leaking balloon nut, all those nasty things he had in his text messages? I can't see any reasonable, but we're talking about Lally and DA Morrissey, two very unreasonable people. Any reasonable DA's office would let this go. Everyone is talking about, will the feds sweep in? I don't care that much about it. The thing I care about is Michael Proctor is poison. He's poison to this case. He's poison to the DA's office. He's poison to the Massachusetts State Police, which, in my opinion, should lead anyone who has anything to do with this case to refrain from ever putting him anywhere near a stand again. Even if they took the case, tried to get around him by using Sergeant Buchanan, the defense will call him. Even though he will be a hostile witness, most likely, he will come off just as bad the second time as he did the first time. And just to show more of the fallout from yesterday, this is NBC talking to Michael Proctor at his house.
Trooper Proctor, Kathy Curran from NBC 10. We'd like to ask you some questions. Do you think your actions impacted the outcome of the trial?
Get off your lawn.
I'm not on your lawn. I'm on the street. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I fully support my husband. Karen Reed is a murderer.
You support your husband? And you.
So this is Trooper Proctor and his wife, the one that the McAlberts offered to buy a present. Well, Trooper Proctor told them, buy her a present instead of me. This case will sunder that local community even more now, because the big problem is, no matter how you see this case, no matter how you believe what happened, the ditches haven't been dug now. And until it goes away, the more trouble will be on the horizon. And especially when we saw this video yesterday from when they left the courtroom. Notice in the background, Paul O'Keefe will walk in. He's walking in right about now. He looks at Karen, says something. She looks up. What the? According to a person who was in the courtroom, Paul O'Keefe said, I'm not done with you yet, which could be a big problem, because is that a threat? Is that witness intimidation? I don't know, but let's just say it doesn't come off as the best idea to say that to someone in a courtroom. Probably nothing will happen, because Canton is, or that entire area is the worst place ever. But this will go on. All those anti-Karen Reed people will still be out there screaming she's a murderer. All the McAlberts, all those weird people connected to them will now keep the pressure on Turtle Boy, because this isn't over yet. It can still blow up in their face. And sadly for me, even though this is over now, I will still miss the fun I had with good old towel Grant Smith Ellis. A reporter so wrong that everything he writes is just utter stupidity. He was retweeting someone yesterday where they talked about how have you ever been on a jury? How long have you been on it? And a guy said, well, I've been on it for 6 days, and the jury was hung 10-2. Grant really doesn't read what he reads. So he just put up that the hung jury in this case was also a 10-2. No one has any knowledge about that. And because Grant put it out there, all the anti-Karen Read people, even Caffey Daffy, went along with it and said we had a split 10-2 jury. No one knows that yet. The only thing we know, the only juror I have heard about talking so far is jury number 3, who was an alternate, who didn't participate in it, and who clearly says she never saw anything proving guilt. But someone saw it. We heard that in the first part I played with Bev. How anyone can see anything but reasonable doubt in this case, I don't understand. My betting money will be, I don't believe the DA's office will retry this. I'll put a buck on that. But I don't know. Tell me, what do you think? Do you think they're going to try it again? Put you through another 70 witnesses talking about Snow? Now the defense know their entire tactic. They can streamline their approach. They will have time to listen to jurors and say what worked, what didn't work, and then they will be ready. The only person who won't be ready is Lally if he has a second go. That guy is highly incompetent and should also be fired. But Karen Read Part 1, done. Karen Read Part 2 starts in 2-3 weeks. Tell me, what do you think? Will we have another go, or will this woman finally be free from all these nasty people in Canton?